Yeah. Apparently I'm on. Hopefully, I always wonder. I'm going to start with this little guy here. I got this at a dollar store, and it's basically a bug trap that you can put stuff in. And I've found that you can put these, you can put them out in the woods or anywhere really. But when I have summer camps, I put these out on trees, and I put them out in the woods and in fields, on the edge of a meadow or something. And I change it. I don't leave the bug traps. I put the label for whoever I'm doing the contract for. Anyway, and then I put what's inside. I either put a fruit or maybe some rotten meat, and I close it back up, and I hang it from a tree. And basically, the insects go in the holes, right? Because it's basically supposed to be a wasp trap, but they go in there and they end up hanging out. And I often get lots of slugs, or sometimes some flies and stuff. But then I come along a day or two later, and I can pop it out, show the kids what's in there, and it's a really great tool. And it comes from the dollar store, and it only costs like $1 or $2. Whereas if you look for a pheromone trap, which is about the same thing, but you go professionally, you're going to spend a lot of money on a pheromone trap. And this is like a pheromone trap, except it's a dollar store bug trap. Really handy. You can always make stuff out of home. Another example. This is a miniature model of what you would put on a turtle. So when turtles come up to the side of the roads, they dig out underneath the road, and they lay their eggs, because the ground along the edge of the roads near marshes is usually the type of gravel sand that they like to lay their eggs into. Not the greatest place really for turtles, because the truth is the turtles are right beside the road like that will end up being roadkill when they hatch. Young turtles always have a problem because everything feeds on them. So the way these work, they're usually much bigger than this. They usually sit about, I don't know, four by 4, so 4 foot by 4 foot, and probably an inch or two high. But this is in the model of it, and see that it's got a cutout. The cutout's only on one side, right? So if the road is here, you put this to the road. This side is closest to where the water is. So it sits like this, and when the turtles hatch, they're protected by this metal screen from birds and raccoons and stuff. And they come out the hole, and they go down to the water. So this is an example of that I can use in class to teach kids, because it's always about teaching people how to use nature and how to understand nature. This is another one, pie plate. And I basically put what the forest floor looks like with a couple of fallen logs. And this is an example of the subnivean zone, which when the snow comes down, it's the layer that's on between the ground, the frozen ground, where the snow would sit. And that's where you get a lot of rodents and insects. And it's an example of that. It's to teach kids about the subnivean zone. Easy to do. I just took an old pie plate. I got it at a yard sale. Worked really well. There's a bigger example. This one, dollar store pie plate that I painted brown, is a beaver dam. The example is a dam with sticks in it. Hot glue works really well. So I created the dam. I created an area that shows the winter stash for the beaver. So it gives an idea of what the stash looks like. So when everything freezes over, the beaver's got his food. I have an example of a beaver lodge. On this one just sits in here. I have another one, which apparently I put somewhere. Oh, no, I put it somewhere. I don't know where it went. Anyway, it's a cutout, so it shows the inside of the lodge. And that, again, is just an example to show kids about how the structure of a beaver dam works. All done, really cheap, You can do it at the dollar store, which works really well. You guys, this is the same idea, right? This one's an example of an osprey or an eagle's nest. Just use some scrap wood And it's just a way for kids to understand and see up close. And you can even do a model with them so they learn how it works. And it gives them examples of how everything works in nature. And kids love stuff like this, really do. I mean, really, we all like making models, and that's what it's about. This is funny. This one and this one. I needed models for bats. I was doing a bat program, and then I was doing a fish program. Always read the small writing. So I ordered this from Amazon, and I'll show it up close. It's really cool. I mean, it shows all the parts, right? So when you're teaching people about how the wings come together and how the bat's hand, it's a hand, right? It's like ours. It's got all the fingers and the thumb. So it's got a really good detail. I mean, there is really good detail, but it's tiny. And I thought when I got it, I actually thought it was going to be bigger. But it's one of those things where between the metric system and the imperial system, I thought it was in inches and it was imperial. Or metric. Sorry, it was metric. So it's tiny. My boss did the same thing. He thought he was going to get me a big sturgeon. He thought it was going to be like a foot long, to show an example of a sturgeon. And it's this tiny little fish. It's still a sturgeon. Still got all the detail, but it's tiny. Anyway, you should always check when you order stuff from Amazon. These are cool. Have you ever seen these before? They're dissected. I'm not going to take this one out because I haven't opened it yet. But the gel in here, it's just a warning. The gel that's around that you have to dissect into, that stuff actually smells pretty badly. I have another one. I have a bat one. I put it somewhere. I was going to show it to you guys. Sorry about this squeaking. That's my lovely chair. Oh, I have it. I brought it out. I hate when that happens. Let's see. Oh, I found the bad thing when I lifted this bat box. I don't know if you guys know much about bats. Up here in Canada, our bat population is diminishing rapidly because of white nose syndrome, which is brought on by the fungus PD. It's killed off a lot of our smaller bats. So we're trying to educate people about bats, which brings up this one. This is another dissect. And like I said, the gel that goes around them smells. The frog one smells really bad. The bat one wasn't that bad. I'm betting that the one for the fish is horrible. So they come off. The cool thing is, even after you use it, they give you a gel to redo another one. And what my boss and I are thinking is you could even make another one using the mold using Jello, which would probably be better. So they give you a scalpel, plastic scalpel, and a pick fork. And they're to, when you take it apart, so kids can pretend they're doing the exact same as a biologist. So this is what it looks like. Right? It's 3D. It's the bat piece. And the cool thing is, after you dissect it, it comes apart in pieces. So they can look at the individual pieces. The skull comes off, and the jaw actually comes off. So it shows all the individual pieces. But even more cool, there's legs. Right? But even more cool, you can take the rib cage apart. So there's the upper part of the rib cage. There's the spine. And then all the guts and everything. So it shows the intestine. It shows the heart, the liver, all the little parts come apart. And there's a booklet that comes with it that tells you about all the different parts. It's actually a really cool design. They're called Dissect It. I think you can get it on Amazon or you can get it at Walmart. They're really cool. They're not overly expensive. On here they show there's the frog, the fish, the salamander, and the bat. So if you're doing outdoor environmental education, those are a fun tool. They're not the best tool, but they're not bad. I'm a big fan. I don't have them out with me right now. I do have them though. Are they're owl pellets. So you get a package. It has the owl pellet in it. You can dissect them. Usually you get like 10 or 12 packages. So you got like, you put kids in groups of 2 or 3, and they can take apart the owl pellet. And an owl pellet is what's regurgitated from an owl, because they, instead of poop, they just puke it back up. And it has the fur, and you break it apart, and it has all the little bits. And each one of these things has like a mouse inside of it. So it's really cool because it allows them to see what an owl actually eats and the parts that come back out that they can't digest. So it's cool. It's a real good learning experience. And it takes about an hour to 2 hours for them to do all this. It's a really great thing to use for environmental education. I have all kinds of different things I use. Oh, yeah. So Canadian Tire. I love Canadian Tire. They have this. I'm really sorry I'm going to do this to you guys. Really bright light. Works with a lot of things. I'm going to use it in about 10 minutes, 20 minutes from now as I go up to one of the bird hides I have up on the hill. I'm probably going to put it in there, hook up my camera and everything. Wait till I hear something creeping around outside because it's an overcast night. And then I'm going to turn this thing on, and it's going to light up everything because it's a illumination. I think this one's for 800 luminance. You can go a lot higher. You can go with 1600, 1800 luminance, but they really work well. I use this in the summertime. I put this and I shine up in the night sky, and it brings in all the moths and the insects. And then not only does it bring up the insects, then I have some black lights, some UV lights that shine on bed sheets. And that also brings in the insects, and especially the moths. And it's a great way of doing critters of the night, which is a great way to get the public understanding a lot of the insects we have that are around at nighttime, nocturnally, right? I also do owl prowls. Same idea. You call in the owls, and they get to see owls. You teach them about their habitat. You teach them about that you never shine a light directly at an owl because that's hard on their eyes. And you teach them that there's times where you can actually you can spend time looking at owls, and then there's certain times of year you just leave them alone, like when they're with their young, they're nesting. That's a good time to leave them alone. And critters of the night. Critters of the night, it's the same idea. Critters of the night, you might call in foxes or coyotes. You get to look at the moths and the insects at nighttime. Bats, if you have a bat collar. I have a bat collar. Oh. So last year I was talking to somebody online one time at a bat webinar, and they told me about this. This is a bat baton. You turn it on. Does this. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It'll go to here. When we breathe, we don't realize our nose makes a lot of noise in higher pitches. But anyway, you'd point this around when their bats are flying around, because bats, they communicate at a higher frequency than we can hear with our ears. But this thing allows us to hear them, so we know they're there. It's a really handy tool, really fun to use. This one goes for about between $200 to $300. You can get more fancier ones that are $600 or $700, or if you want to go professional, you can get the ones that are $4,000, which are way out of my price range. But anyway, something else you could use. I had something else I wanted to show, but my office is a giant mess because I do a lot of different stuff in here. So I can't find it right now. I apologize. Anyway, I'm in the process of working out some projects, and I just, you work and all of a sudden your brain just stops working. I'm kind of there. So I thought, wow, why not? I'll come online and share for a few minutes. I do a lot of stuff virtually now, so I'm learning more about speaking virtually. It's different, I admit. I'm used to doing stuff out in the woods, and doing this is more difficult because when you do stuff in the woods, it's very interactive for all ages, especially children. When you do virtual stuff, it's for younger ages, it's kind of boring because it's not like doing a video game. It's just chatting and sharing, and that's so much different. So I'm learning things as I go. I'm learning about doing online stuff, which is not easy at all. I mean, I'm in my 50s, so for somebody in their 20s, this is probably like simple. But when I was in school, computers didn't exist. Anyway, yeah. Oh yeah, I can show you Hoot. This is Hoot, and Hoot is my plastic owl. I sometimes put them on a tree and call owls or hawks or stuff, and they dive bomb them. But basically, the best way I use this is I put them in a tree somewhere. I have another one called Wilson, and he's a sandpiper. And I put him in another tree, and then I get the kids to go look for them. And I talk about habitat and this different things about camouflage and why birds hide. And I talk about mobbing, which is when all the birds find an owl, they just keep bugging it till it flies away. But yeah, there's so Bluetooth speakers. This little speaker, which is JBL, everybody I know, this breaks and this comes off, and so many people I know have these, and they're all duct taped together. Something to know if you live in Canada. In the wintertime, our temperature goes down below zero quite often. These do not work in cold weather. They tell you it's waterproof, and that's great. Good in the summertime, but in the wintertime, this does not work at all. It's horrible in the wintertime. I have another speaker, which is not around here at the moment. I must be in my bag. It works in the wintertime. It's from Blackweb. It's an older version of a Bluetooth speaker. And I used to have a small one that worked really, really well, but I left it on top of a car and I drove away and I forgot to take it in. And it's somewhere on the highways of Canada because I forgot to take it off my top of my car. It was great. It was waterproof and it worked in the wintertime as in the summertime. The only downfall of that one was it spoke. It used to go something like connection on, and it would say that, and you're trying to be really quiet, and it would do stuff like that. But these work really well for calling in owls. They work well for wildlife. You can hang it on a tree. You can hang it down in a brush and try calling stuff in. They work well that way. So it's a good educational tool. Bluetooth speaker is always a good thing to have, just as your cell phone is, because it's got all the different apps on it for using so many different things. Yeah. Tape's always good. If a lot of places they have budgets, and if you can save on their budget for spending stuff, they like you so much more. So if you can figure out ways of doing things without costing a lot, like making the little models out of scrap wood, that always goes over well, because then you're still teaching, you're still getting great input, but you're not spending as big a budget, which is always handy. I'm going to sign off because I want to go out to my blind and see if I can see any wildlife. Yeah, this will be on. That's the other thing I learned. I didn't know this. When you do these live things, they go on your page. I learned that. Didn't learn that right away, but I did learn it. So yeah, I hope everybody has a good day, and we'll see you out there. Get out and explore nature. It's always fun.